Hello, yes, it's Joe here for Joyrider TV, and today I am going to undertake the task of reconditioning all of my carbon bits from my Tornado. At the Europeans last year, I did get, let's call it a reasonable amount of abuse from several people on the state of my carbon stuff on the boat. So with a bit of time on the old hands, I thought I would get it ready and then recondition it so that it will be nice. To make this clear from the start, what I'm going to be looking at here is firstly the preparation of the mast, and then I'm going to talk you through the process that I used to recoat the mast with the varnish. My intention was to video the recoating process, but I was so nervous because it's my first time doing it that I didn't want to balls it up. So I thought if I just focus on the job in hand rather than trying to video it as well, that would be better. So I've got all of my carbon bits out, ready to prepare for treatment. So what I've got is, of course, I've got the mast, which is looking pretty skanky. Then I've got this ridiculous bowsprit spinnaker pole combo. Hello. I've got the carbon rod that holds the bowsprit up. I've got the carbon spreaders, the rudder stocks, and the mast foot. I've also got somewhere a tiller connecting bar, which I will track down and will give that the treatment too. So you can see the previous varnish that's gone on there is gone kind of this white colour. It's flaking. It's not looking attractive, but also I'm told that the danger here is if water gets inside, you could end up with a mast that no longer works. Stage one is going to be taking off all of that old flaky stuff, bringing it back to just an uncoated carbon, and then once we've done that with everything, we can then take it indoors ready for varnishing. I'm predominantly going to be using a Stanley knife blade like this, which I'm going to use in this kind of fashion to scrape all the old stuff off. And then after we've done that, we'll just give it a little tickle with some 600 grade wet and dry paper. So let's start scraping and get her looking nice again. This may take some time, so you might want to forward wind to when it's done. Yeah, so there we go. That was the first pass with the Stanley knife blade and then a bit of sandpaper just to see how we're looking. But I think you can see the difference there already. The weave is really coming through. I am going to have to give it a second pass. Seems to have happened is the bottom of the mast looks all right, but towards the top of the mast, I think the Stanley knife blade was getting a bit blunt, and perhaps the amount of effort wasn't quite as much. You may have noticed the sun is going down, so I'm going to leave this for today, get a fresh Stanley knife blade on it tomorrow, and finish off the preparation. And once I've prepared this, then we'll prepare the rest of the stuff as well. before moving it all into the indoors ready for the application of the varnish. What I didn't mention at the start is that this is by no means my field of expertise. I don't really know what I'm doing here. And I did look it up on the internet, and it said if you get it wet, that gives you an idea of how it's going to look after you've varnished it. And when I was just rinsing it off just now, oh, she looked sweet. And also as well, I've obviously taken all of the rigging off, including the diamond wires. I just thought it'd be easier not to have to work around all of those bits. Okay, there we go. The preparation of the mast took such a long time. I was doing about, I think, 1 metre section of mast to get it totally cleaned was probably taking about 2 hours. So you can imagine that is a lot of time. But by the time I'd finished preparing it, had it absolutely perfect, then I took the mast indoors ready for the treatment. Before the application of the varnish, I gave the whole mast a complete wet and dry sand with 1000 paper, and then after that I went over the mast with acetone on a cloth. I think 4 times I went over the mast until the cloth didn't pick up any of the dark colour, which to me indicated that the mast was completely clean and ready for the treatment. So this was the stuff that I was using, Nautics Marine Paints VA2 varnish. It's a 2-part varnish, and then to the varnish I was adding a dilutant as well to make it a bit thinner, which, having done some research, the reason we're adding the thinner makes it a lot easier to apply the varnish to the mast, and you get a much more even coating. Now, one of the essential things that I had for this process was this 3M measuring cup, which actually had on it the measurements for different mixes of the varnish to dilutant, and I was going 3:1, and I worked out that 100ml 3:1 was the right amount to do 1 coat of varnish on the mast of the Tornado. That's about a 10-metre mast. 100ml was enough to do 1 complete coat. So it was very handy on this cup that didn't have to do any maths. We wanted this much part A, this much part B. Then we were doing 20% of the dilutant to make the varnish a lot thinner, which made it a lot easier to apply. I then used this very tray to put the varnish into, and we used a roll and tip method for application. So we used a roller, really soaking the roller and then almost squidging all of the varnish off the roller before taking it to the mast. We'd then roll long sections of the mast, nice and even, and we were using a roll and tip method. So after rolling a section, we'd then take the brush and just brush it in. After each coating of varnish, I left it for 48 hours before putting on the next coat. I think that is actually a fair bit longer than what was necessary, but I was in no rush and I had other things to do, and I ended up putting on 5 coats of varnish, which seemed to be a nice amount. Just with the roller and the brush, I totally gave up trying to save them after each coat, and they were pretty inexpensive, so I just used a fresh one each time to make sure that it was clean. And here is the finished effect. So here it is, the mast all finished, ready to be re-rigged. the thing that was holding me back was a fear of the unknown, because I'm by no means somebody who does this sort of thing. And then there I was doing this sort of thing. I thought maybe this would be useful to somebody who's looking at taking on a similar project of reconditioning their mast. So hopefully this has been helpful if you are in that situation. Thanks very much. See you next time with some more on Joyrider TV. Okay, a little bit more downhill there. Woohoo! Okay, so we've got through the dirty wind of the Tiger. They're pointing higher than us, but not going as quick. Now we'll just see what we can do with the hot rod that is the C2. If we can get a bit further up on those guys.